but I did learn something in my when I watched my life review. It was the little things I saw. Those were the things that stood out,
Right.
like giving your what I did say was giving my sweater to someone
Mhm,
who was cold.
mhm.
That's no big deal, you know. But I just learned that there isn't any one specific religion that's right. Everybody thinks that there is only one, and but there's 8 bazillion people on the planet, so there's 8 bazillion ways that God can speak to you, and He speaks 8 bazillion languages, and He will come to you in ways that you personally understand. It's not, one way or
Mhm.
no way. It's
Mm.
not like that.
Yeah, perfect. Beautiful, I love that. Yeah. So, as you were getting your tour of heaven, and I just interviewed someone else who had, a tour of heaven.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, yeah, and, as you were getting your tour of heaven, uh, did they so that's when your brothers told you that you had died. Did they tell you that you needed to go back? How did you find out that you needed to come back?
well, I was walking with my brothers and we were looking at all these buildings, the hall of knowledge where all the books were.
Mm.
Um, I saw another building that took me actually, they specifically took me to this building and I looked down the door. We're standing in the doorway and there's this huge party going on. And it was very festive and very formal. And I was like, oh, my kind of party. But beautiful ball, dresses, long dresses and sparkly jewelry and these handsome men were dancing with these gorgeous women and some of them were just laughing and holding these, you know, the drinks in their hands and there were tables on the other side that were just lavishly decorated with beautiful flowers and silver trays just laden with foods that you could everything you could possibly want to eat. And that's when I learned that you can eat anything you want and you
I
can
can't wait to
drink
get to
anything
heaven.
you want. But no, you don't need to use the bathroom. And no, you don't you don't
Right.
have to eat to sustain life. You do it for pleasure
For pleasure,
and
yeah.
for the joy of doing it. Because when you're here on earth and you gather around family and friends, you usually do it around food.
Mhm.
So why not do that in heaven too?
So what you're
You know,
saying is that, and I've learned this myself, that what you enjoy on earth and gives you pleasure, meaning what we do with each other, what we when we gather together and have fun together, and what makes us happy, we can do that on in heaven. We do that in heaven as well. We don't stop
yeah,
doing what we enjoy, and that's what Spirit has always told me. We still do what we enjoy, what we did on earth. It's just in a better way because that's all we need to do if we
that's
want.
that's right.
Yeah.
God can manifest anything. All he has to do is think it. Poof, there it is. It's not, I have had people listen to some of my videos and they say, oh, there's animals in heaven. Oh, yes, there are animals in heaven. And they're like, so you kill animals to get the meat that you want to eat? I'm like, well, heavens, no. Nobody kills anything in heaven. But God, if you want a nice juicy steak, yeah, it's right there. All you have to do is think it, and it's right there. It's it's there's no killing in heaven. It's God can manifest anything, and if it's not doesn't go against His will or go against, if you're not hurting anybody, why would it you not get the hamburger or the pizza with the pepperoni on it or whatever? I used to
Yeah.
tease people and say there's a pizza pizza station on every corner, and next to it, the ice cream parlors. You know, heaven's a good place.
Yeah, that's why it's called heaven.
Exactly. And it's not you don't have to earn your way there either. I didn't do anything to get there. I wouldn't do anything great to get there. I just got there. It's but I did learn something in my when I watched my life review. It was the little things I saw. Those were the things that stood out.
Right. I've heard that.
Um,
Yeah.
like giving what I did see was giving my sweater to someone
Hmm.
who was cold.
Hmm.
That's no big deal, you know, but it was something that
It was
apparently was a good thing to do.
well, it's a big deal for the other person. What seems like just minimal to us is a big deal to the other person, and that's something to celebrate on the other side, is what I understand totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the little things, the hand on the shoulder, the hug,
Right.
smile, giving someone water when they're thirsty.
Yeah, I heard speaking of water, I heard I guess it was the last gentleman I interviewed, where he had a tour of heaven. He was doing his life review too. And he told me a story, or I can't remember exactly who it was, but somebody was doing their life review, and he was walking by a plant that he was throwing away a bottle of water. He didn't finish the bottle, but he went to throw it away. He was walking on the street, on the sidewalk, and he saw a plant that looked thirsty. And he went and poured water on the plant before he threw the bottle away. And he said the whole place cheered.
That was a nice thing to do because oh
It
yeah.
was one little thing like that, of giving a thirsty plant water, which seems little to us, not little to the plant, and I've got goosebumps as I'm sharing that, but that is a big deal.
Yeah.
Little things add up to the big things,
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Sharon. Okay, so you say that everyone goes to heaven, right? Is that what you said? Or did you
Well,
did
yeah, I
or
don't there are different levels of heaven.
okay. Okay, I
It's
was gonna ask you
Heaven
about
is
that, yeah.
like a vibration,
Hmm.
okay? Just as hell. It's not as what we have been taught. That's what I found out in my the entire all of my experiences. You put them together, this is what I learned. Okay, now I saw Jesus.
Oh, do share.
Je- okay, Jesus was the one who came
I'm a
over to
Jesus
me.
freak. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, he's so beautiful. Let
Isn't
me
he?
tell he he walked out of I was with my brothers. They were showing me all these different buildings. I'm walking around, I'm seeing the animals, I'm seeing everything is so gorgeous. And Jesus walks out of this grove of trees and he walks up to me. When he comes up to me, my brothers go away. I
Mm.
don't know where they went or why they went, but they did. And was like, okay, bye-bye. And there's Jesus. And he starts walking with me to this wooded glen. And as he's walking with me, he's telling me, I love you. I'm with you. Don't be afraid. Well, that was my first clue that I was going to be coming back.
Mm.
But it went over my head, because I was just like in awe of him.
Yeah.
And it was, um, you know, I love you. I'm going to be with you. And so don't be afraid. I thought he meant he's going to be with me for whatever was going to happen next. That's not what he meant. And it was like, so then I sat on this log and I said, there was a man next to me on the log, and that man was God. And I knew it was God with this soul knowing, just like I did with that tall, humongous, loving, formless presence. But this time I knew that God had taken a form because God had a message to give me.
Mm.
And I get a lot of flack from people about that's not biblical. God wouldn't appear to you. You would burn up and die. Well, I was already dead, and God can do anything he wants to do.
Yeah.
And just because it says in the Bible one thing doesn't mean God has to do that again. You know, God can do anything, and he's spirit. So he can appear as anything he wants, whenever he wants. And it's not, I mean, it doesn't have to be word for word in the Bible to make it true.
Right.
And it's, you know, but he, he was beautiful just like Jesus, but in a different way. He looked like an older version, maybe the father of Jesus or something. That's how I looked at him. He was more of a father figure, but he was beautiful. And but he was able to give me his message. If he'd appeared to me as a burning bush like he did with Moses, well, I had just got struck by lightning. I would have took off running. No.
He knew what you needed.
And I'm going through this experience that I'm thinking, okay, Twilight Zone time. Do 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 do. If he showed up as a goat with three heads, I would have took off running. It was just like, he knows you so personally. It's like he's going to come to each one of us in a way we understand. I
Right.
had a friend, a native friend, and he wanted to talk to God. And I said, pray to God, tell him. And he did. And God came to him as a great, big, huge white hawk, or I mean, owl. Or
Mm.
and he was standing on a lake, and this giant creature came to him. It was white, but I said, "That's God." God came to you in a way you could understand. Something like that came to me, I would grab a feather and run. You know, you know. So
So I know you
I
shared
knew it was,
in the book about your conversation with God, or some of it probably, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Would
He,
you care to share a
he,
little bit of it? Because we don't want to give everything.
yeah, we sat down and we talked, and he asked me a question. He said, "What would you do if it was just me and you?" And I was like, "Oh, what do you mean?" I said, he asked me again, "What would you do if it was just me and you?" And I didn't understand the question. I just, I didn't know what he was trying to get at. The question threw me off. He said, "No parents, no children, no husband, no friends, no one, just me and you." And I didn't know what to say. And so he said, "Come with me." And so we got up and we walked further into the garden where there was a clearing. And he kind of waved his hand like this, and I looked up at the sky, and I could see the vastness of the universe, how big it was. It was huge, but there wasn't anything in it but, planets and stars and these rainbow colored gases and, that kind of stuff. And I looked at all that. There weren't any trees or houses or cars or people or animals, nothing. There was nothing. And I looked at him and I said, if it's all that and just me and you would be so tired of me after the first 10 minutes with all my questions in my childhood that you wouldn't like me anymore.
Oh,
So no, And he threw his head back and he just laughed. I mean, who tells God no? So I totally missed the point again. So we go back and we sit back on the log. And there's this giant oak tree there. And so he makes my attention go to that. And I'm noticing the bark and the roots beneath the ground. And I can see the tree is pulling the nutrients out of the ground. And it goes up into the tree and into the leaves. And I could see the little corpuscles moving through the veins in the leaves. And I could see how the leaves were cleaning the air and we were breathing the air, and how everything is connected to everything else and everything is dependent upon everything else. And so everything is important.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why God created everything in the order that he did. And it's not like everything is helter skelter. Oh, I'll stick this tree here and I'll put that there. And oh, there God has a certain order of doing things. And he did it that way. And there's reason. And so I looked, and this was a surprising thing too, because I know nothing about this particular tradition and I have never read it, the book. But I said to God, I said, in the Quran, your 100th name is God is everywhere, God is nowhere, and God is in me. And God said, yes, that's right. Well, I've never read the Quran. I know nothing. So I don't know why that popped out of my mouth or how it popped out of my mouth, other than he put it in my mind. So then I said, God, you made this tree. You are in this tree. So when I look at this tree, I see you. And he said, yes, that's right. So then I started thinking about my parents. And I said, God, you made my parents. You are in my parents. So when I see my parents, I see you. And he said, yes, that's right. And I said that about my children as well. And then he said, I have a question for you. And I said, okay. And he said, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? And my answer would have been not much. But that's not what you tell God. I thought, oh, I'm not going to tell him that. He made me. No way am I going to say that to him, you know. So I thought about it a minute. And I thought, well, and I said, God, you made me. You are in me. So when I look in the mirror, I see you. And he said, yes, yes, yes. And he was so happy. His eyes were sparkling. He was grinning. He was so happy. And I felt like a little girl that had just got an A on the spelling test. And I had just showed my mom, you know. And I was so happy, you know, because he felt like a father figure. And I had just done something right. And he was praising me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, you know. And so it was right after that that these angels came to me. Well, no, it wasn't. He what he did was he said, I don't make mistakes. I don't make junk. You are not what everybody tells you you are. You are what I tell you you are. You are not ugly. You are not, you know, beauty comes from in here. Beauty is not, you know, everybody's outward beauty will fade, but your inward beauty will never fade. And You are not what people say to you that you are. And you don't listen to the world. You listen to me. And I mean, we had this conversation,
Mhm.
and I try when I talk about it, I try to keep it short, but it was a longer conversation.
Of
But he
course.
was like coming at me and saying, "Don't listen to the world." Yeah,
Yeah.
but he'd repeated that a few times. It doesn't matter what other people say, don't listen to that. And so after that, it's when two angels came and got me, and they took me to this calm, serene lake. And that's when they showed me some of these future world events. Because I looked into the lake, and when I looked into the lake, it was like looking through a piece of glass. And I looked down and I saw the world below. And it was like looking at, I couldn't, there's no time in heaven, you know. Um, I felt like I had been there for weeks and weeks and weeks. There was just no time. And so um, I'm watching these events. I don't know what they were. I mean, I could see what was happening. I didn't know a timeline. I thought they were future events. But, people have their own opinions of what they were or when they happened or whatever. So that's why I don't really share them anymore, because it starts arguments. But it was things things that are happening right now. It,
Uh,
and it's the angels kept saying these things don't have to happen. They will happen if mankind or humankind don't they doesn't change their ways, because this is all about the division of people and uh yes, there's diversity, and yes, everybody's important. And it's not about any one particular group of people, it's about everybody. And we are all united. We are all one. We all come from one place. We'll all go back to one place. And it doesn't matter what you call that place, it is what it is. And they were saying that it's human collective selfishness. It's not like I'm selfish and it's causing this, or it's everybody's. And um, it's happening because of I saw corrupt governments and just horrific things that have happened and are happening now. And it really, we need to go back to putting God in the center of things,
Exactly.
or the Great Spirit, or Allah, or Source, or
Hmm.
whatever people call it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
be respectful of each other and whatever tradition it is that people believe in, because
Mhm.
God isn't a religion. And
No, it's funny. Yeshua showed during my near-death experience, showed me future events too, showed me similar types of things that are going on now. And the crux of it was that as a collective, we had lost our perceived connection with God, that it was that we had forsaken. Because I kept hearing and saying, we're here to help this God forsaken world, because I kept hearing that in my head, but not that God forsake us, that we're forsaking God, and we need to
exactly,
find that again. Oh,
that's exactly right. And that's what, when people ask me what hell is, hell is when we turn away from God's love.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, it's a separation of God's love by
Yeah.
our choice. It
Right.
has not, God doesn't separate from us at all. He won't turn his back. We're the ones that turn our back by our choices. And that's how, and so can you imagine having seen the face of God, having experienced his love, and then because we decided to do it, we turn our back on him. And then there's this huge chasm between us, this huge gully that we can't get over to get to him.
Yeah.
And that makes us scream. That would make us scream. That would make us cry. That would be hell. It's a vibrational thing. And heaven is also a vibrational thing. I mean, we can have, pardon me, I keep drinking that water.
Okay.
Um,
Well, yeah, I kind
it's
of equate God's love for us a little bit. I mean, it's just in the larger scheme of things, but a parent's love for a child, right?
Mhm.
And a parent isn't going to stop loving their child no matter what they do, even
Right.
if they don't agree with it, or they give them, say, no, you shouldn't do that. That's, I'm just warning you, but the child goes and does it anyway. They're not going to stop loving that child. But
That's
but they have to let them or allow that child to make their mistakes and their
mhm.
errors in judgment. And when they want to come home, they still have, parent still has their arms wide open. It
Right.
that normally, that's a parent that loves their child.
I I've I think I even talked about that in my book.
Oh,
The very same thing that you just brought up. That's interesting. But I talk about, we're like children that are learning how to walk.
yeah.
And you know how parents are constantly like this, trying to hold the child, don't fall, yeah.
Right.
But eventually you have to let that child walk on their own and they
Hmm.
will fall. And it's painful as a parent to sit and watch your child fall down over and over and over. But as it it's like after that child has fallen 3 or 4 times, that child is going to figure out how to hold their feet so they don't fall.
Yeah.
I mean, we go over, we brush them off, pick them up, and stand them there and say, okay, do it again.
Right.
Well, that's what God does to us. You know,
Some
he'll
just
pick us
take longer
up.
to learn.
Yes. but but we do but we're here to learn lessons. And
Yeah.
sometimes we don't learn the lessons and it'll come back to us in a different way or a different form, but it's the same lesson.
Right.
Whatever that is, forgiveness or jealousy or greed or whatever. Whatever it is we wanted to learn.
Hmm.
I mean,
Right.
that's what I understand. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I was given to understand.
Yeah, that makes sense. What I was remembered during my quickening after my NDE is that we come here to experience everything there is to experience, and that's what God, source, infinite intelligence wants, is to experience all that humanity, his creation, her creation, whoever we're, God is not has does not have gender, I guess you could say.
Right.
Appears to us, it can appears to us in gender, but
Mhm.
to create, to experience everything there is to experience. Yeah. And the idea is not to get stuck, like you were saying, stuck in the lower vibrational experience and not learn from it and not forgive it or not move forward from it, not be able to move forward from it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's hard. That's really
Right.
hard.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to do our work here.
Yes.
It's important to do your work here
I'm glad you said that.
because y- whatever you have here, you're going to take there. Because when you leave this physical body, your spiritual body will look just like you, only a better version of you. But you will still be you. You have your own unique, special, personal ID. Your identity is important to all of creation. And there is no one in all of the universe or the multi-universes is just like you. And God made it that way. And he honors that and wants that. And so you maintain your identity. You are who you are. You will remain who you are. You take with you your thoughts, your memories, your dreams, your whatever it is that you are inside, that stays with you. No, you can't take cameras with you, unfortunately. People have asked me, why didn't you take a selfie with Jesus? At that particular time in my life, I'd never heard of a cell phone. I didn't have a camera. You know? You can't, it's surprising when you die, you take nothing with you. I
No,
mean, you come to this world with nothing and you can't take anything with you. When you're gone, you're gone. Poof, you're gone. You know, can't, let me stop at home and pack a
I hope
suitcase.
that was a joke. When they asked
It
you,
was.
I
Well, I
really hope
guess,
that's a joke.
when you mean those people asking me that?
Yeah.
I don't know. They were pretty serious. They were coming back at me and I'm like, you can't, I didn't have a camera back then. I
Oh
didn't
my
have a cell
gosh.
phone back then. And I don't think you can't take anything with you unless you ask God for a camera. And I didn't think about that. Honestly, my brain wasn't that fast. I didn't think about anything. I was just floating along, taking it all in. So it was people were asking me, why didn't you ask God this? Why didn't you ask God that? And I'm like, because he had something to say to me and I was just quiet, I
And they
didn't
can
have.
ask God themselves their own questions.
Yeah, that's a good one. Y'all can have an NDE and ask him
Well, you don't
yourself.
have to have an NDE to talk to God. That's the whole point.
Well, that's true. You don't have to. But
Yeah,
he was trying to get my attention
right.
for a long time, it took 4 lightning strikes and finally on the fourth one he took me up there and he said, listen, girl, you
Yeah,
have not been listening to me.
yeah.
So he
So
kept
what
turning up
point,
that volume.
what I hear you, I had to get run over by a trailer. So what point did you find yourself back in your body?
Right after the angels showed me all of those events, it was like one minute I was there and the next minute I was back in my body and it was like, oh my gosh. It pain was incredible. It was
Oh,
just incredible.
yeah. So they
And
didn't actually tell you that you're going back. It was just something you would eventually gleaned, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
Jesus told me, I'm gonna be
I'll be
with
with
you.
you.
I love you. Don't be afraid. I should have known,
Yeah.
but I didn't know anything when I was up there. I was a bumbling idiot. I was
No.
like, okay, okay, okay.
Well, no, I'm sure that most people have had near-death experiences or been in the higher planes would understand that we want to stay. Well, I haven't, well, except for when I was 9, I said, no, I want to go back because I just started my life. I don't want to, have to start over. But most people as an adult don't want to go back.
Oh no,
They don't want to come back. Not that
no,
Earth
no
isn't,
way.
Earth is still a beautiful place, but it's not easy compared to heaven.
That's true.